So this video is really not to convince anyone to retire in New York City. I'm just sharing my experience that it is realistic. In fact, hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. And in this video, we're going to talk about New York City and retiring here. I feel like it doesn't get talked enough because most people assume that this city is too unrealistic, too stressful, and expensive. But with the right strategy, right planning, and support people, then I think it's doable because I have done exactly that. I have helped my family retire in New York City successfully. So let's get right to it. So in this video, we're gonna divide the conversation into three parts. The first part is strategy, second part is money, and the third one is lifestyle/community. So let's talk about strategy. Strategy is simple. Keep quiet and think long term. When we thought of moving my family here to retire, we kept quiet. We didn't really talk about it. We didn't make an announcement because what would happen if you make an announcement, then questions come in. People would then start asking, why you in New York City? It's too expensive. Why not XYZ? And instead of you having a clear path towards that, then those questions become barriers. You start second guessing yourself when you already made your research that it is likely you're gonna move. And long term, because this conversation is mainly about retirement. So it was important for us to think a bit of permanence in that sense. And so a lot of that is around money and then lifestyle/community. So let's start with money. I think money is one of the easiest things to deal with because it's countable. It tells you exactly for what it is. The hard part about money, however, is the habit, how someone manages it. And to simplify things, you can watch my debt-free series because I essentially use the principles in that series when it came to my family. And that helped him, really. The most important one is to think of income as net, wherein debt is completely eliminated. Like debt doesn't come in the calculations of the income. That doesn't subtract the income into a lower number. So we had to eliminate all debt. That was really important. And then when we're thinking of income, it doesn't include the savings. If you have savings, right, that shouldn't be included as part of one spending or consideration of your spending capacity in New York City. Because savings, I think of savings as a cushion for any emergencies. Because as you know, and I'm Filipino, I have to mention that because for us, we are responsible for our family in the Philippines. So if there's any emergency, even though the emergency is not with us, we are responsible for them and we have to be ready with our savings. So income, excluding of savings, has to be net, and that requires being debt-free. The second piece is spending habits, money coming out. The primary strategy we did with that is really consolidating credit cards, where because I had better spending habits, I put my family as an add-on to my credit card. And whenever the spending went up a certain amount, I would flag my family member, hey, you're already on the certain amount. Can you watch your spending? We had to think about, wait, is this spending necessary? Because sometimes there are items there that are really not necessary. So we had to have a serious conversation. The third one, as I've mentioned, as being responsible for the family in the Philippines, we had to get everyone ready, right? We had to share the information to those who have a stake in the decision. So if someone is retiring, it was important for us to share that, okay, everyone else, if I'm tightening my budget, then everyone else should do the same. That way we work as a team, as a family. So we were able to do that, thankfully. So everyone was cooperative, so that wasn't a problem at all, but that required transparency and just being honest. Right, we got the debt, removal of debt, income being net. The third one is actually the habit. And then the fourth piece of that is really comparing the expenses of New York City versus the city where my family lived. So it came down to this. Once the money made sense, we also looked at the lifestyle. The family component, or the presence of the family in New York City, is really important. And so a lot of us is actually here. So we were able to provide that support. Then the other one is access to important things like groceries, church, medical care. And New York City has a lot of teaching hospitals, a lot of great hospital systems that anyone can go to. And then public transportation is also accessible. You can walk to bus station, train stations, Uber, also rideshare. You can call on a cab, and then you can simply just walk. So with that, having that access, and there's really no need for having a car. And the expense of having a car is then removed entirely. I mentioned access, having family, and just staying in an apartment. See, it simplifies your lifestyle. You don't have to deal with repairs, maintenance. You just pretty much pay rent. It offered stability, a different kind of freedom, and peace. We didn't wait for the perfect timing. We just did the intentional ones. So if you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. And I'm gonna segue this conversation to the next season of Coogiand, where I interview people with regards to their experiences. And the second season of Coogiand will be around New York City. We're gonna talk with people who decided to live and leave New York City and understand the principles, transition plans, influences around that.
Unfortunate thing that happened to me is really the fortunate thing that really happened.